So I don't usually buy action figures that are so expensive, like the Icon Collectible Dark Wolf from Frazetta Girls. I tend to stay in lower prices, more popular offerings. The Dark Wolf action figure is something that when I saw it, I couldn't pass it up. It's just so cool looking. He's like this Batman or Wildcat type of character in a world similar to Conan Stone Age, where he helped other characters fight this evil Ice Queen and her son. He's just the badass fighter that we saw in the Fire and Ice movie from the early 1980s, which I had totally forgotten about. But Frazetta Girls, which is a company funded by the granddaughter and daughter of the artist known as Frank Frazetta, decided to create a new line of action figures based on their father and grandfather's work. This action figure is incredible. It's the second offering. There was a first version of Dark Wolf. This version takes more after the movie, and it's a great action figure. Let's look at it further because it deserves to be shown to the world. This is Hervé from Comic Book Bin, filling in since 2002.
So this is Dark Wolf, a classic Frazetta character. The first thing I have to say is it seems that there is paint all over Dark Wolf's body. So what you see here is not exactly the base plastic. The base plastic looks more like this here in the joint. I don't usually pay attention to hands and other props, similar props, but I will this time because there are so many that it's worth looking at. We have resting hand. Arrow aiming hand for when you use with the bow. Obviously we have fist, two of them. We have grasping hands and weapon holding hands. He comes with a bow, with a real string. Don't pull on the string. It's not very solid. And 3 arrows. The problem is that you can't put the arrows anywhere on Dark Wolf. He has no quiver. That's a drawback. There should be a place to store all those arrows. But Frazetta didn't paint a quiver on him, so I guess they didn't give him a quiver. So watch out, they're very fragile, but you don't want to lose them either. First thing that's going to be lost. And he's got different heads. This is the default, well, mouth, jaw he came with. This is a snarling one. And you can use it on the character here. Battle axe. And in order to remove the head, it's easier to remove his head than to remove the Norseman. You need to pull like this. Okay. He has a bone necklace with a tiny head. push the head there. Everything on this character can be removed. So if you decide to change the hands, I'm gonna put weapon holding hand for the bow. Well, you could have removed this. Let me do it again. It's a bit difficult to remove this. I guess it's not easy. Okay, I'm not gonna fight too much with it. I'm gonna leave it there. I didn't warm the figure, so I don't want to break it. Same thing for the boots. You can see this is a cover. This also can be removed. But to remove it, you need to push the torso and then flip this out. You could replace it with the extra belt in short that came with this guy, the Norseman. It could work. Now the likeness to the original character. This is the second version that came out recently. The first version had different type of wrist guards. They were like metal wrist guards. This one is more like the cartoon where he had fur-based wrist guards. So in terms of likeness, he looks more like the cartoon than some of the paintings. So this is the artwork of the packaging. And in this one, we've got the original painted version of Dark Wolf, as painted by Frazetta, which is not the same as the cartoon version. It says on the package that it's limited to 1,000 pieces. Apparently, I'm one of the owners of the 1,000 pieces. It's a good thing. Packaging, some write-up. Step into a fantastical world unlike anything witnessed before, where fierce warriors, strange monsters, and villainous rulers engage in a struggle for the fate of a civilization. In this adventurous collaboration between Ralph Bakshi and Frank Frazetta, it is a time contrasting forces, good and evil, pleasure and pain, where fire and ice clash. It's a double spread package, and there's more write-up on Dark Wolf. Now the articulations. He can move his head, but because of the fur on his head, the hoodie, he can't quite move the head backwards or even sideways very well. These are the articulation at the elbows. He doesn't have bicep curls. But there's a new type of articulation here if you want to twist a bit the shoulders inwards without breaking the sculpt. I like this kind of articulation. I wish other designers, companies would use this design. It gives you a very seamless arm. He only has single elbow articulations. Like this. You can roll the arms. The articulation is good at the elbows. It's pinless, but it's about just above 90 degrees. In terms of the wrist, some of them have the palm inside outside palm articulation like this. But there's also for the weapon grabbing hands and up and down articulation here. You can twist the torso a bit and the abs and the waist are all one piece. He can do the split, full split, and just like the shoulders, he's got the inside joint here that reminds me of what we see on McFarlane action figures. So again, you can move the thigh, not a full 360, but that's good enough. So it really helps for articulation, as you can see here. You could make him sit. He has a single knee articulation. They decided to cut the knee just like that here. Although you can rotate the knees just like Star Wars action figures. You can also rotate the forearms here. This piece is an add-on, like I mentioned before, and the ankles have very generous articulations. Technically, you should be able to change the feet and put bare feet, but they didn't give us bare feet with this guy. Maybe future characters in this line will have bare feet, so we can exchange them, although the skin tone will probably not match. If you have bare skin, bare feet, if you have bare feet from other figures, maybe they're compatible, I don't know. I don't know if they use the same format as Legion, Mythic Legion, or even Zesrays like this. If they use the same feet format, you could possibly switch the feet. So it's very easy to pause the character. Really well. Like this. It's really nice. In terms of height, he fully matches 110 figures. He's close to 7-inch, even though they say he's a 12. He's a 112. So you can see he's much bigger than a Marvel Legend, like Kazar. He's fully compatible with a Mythic Legion or Xesray action figure. This is my Jean-Claude Van Damme. Jean-Claude Van Damme is compatible with them too. He's a bit smaller than a DC Multiverse. They're a bit bigger overall. So this is the second version of the first figure from Frazetta Girls. It's a beautiful figure, but it's very expensive also, and it may not be easy to find in stores. Okay, the waist was a bit stiff, that's why. Okay, do I recommend it? If you have the budget, sure, and if you like this kind of figure, go ahead. Otherwise, you may have to rethink about it, because it is an expensive figure, and it's really for hardcore Frazetta collectors. But if you're into fantasy and related line like Mythic Legion or even Masters of the Universe, so on, or Xesrays, combatants, you'll probably like this figure. I recommend it. This is Hervé from Comic Book Bin, figurine since 2002. Like and subscribe.